All right, we're doing a review on X-Men 2000 from year 2000. But it's directed by Bryan Singer, who I hate very very much because he's a pedophile. But that's besides the point. He didn't really want to do this movie at first. He thought the X-Men stuff was illiterate literature. Uh, and then he watched like the 90s animated series, like all episodes, to figure out which characters he was going to include. And somehow he still screwed this thing up pretty epically. He also insisted on not going with the colorful costumes and yada yada yada. Uh, I don't know all the details, but I know enough to know that he screwed this up. It sucks, honestly. Uh, I dislike almost every single thing about this movie, to be honest. I heard Kevin Feige was on set though, and he's the one who suggested, since they weren't going with a mask, to spike up Hugh Jackman's hair for Wolverine. And honestly, that was a very good decision because if he didn't have his hair that way, I don't know. I don't know because it was already bad enough that they didn't have costumes and that he thought black leather costumes were better because they provided more protection. But black leather is not tactical wear. It's ridiculous. Uh, Tight fitting. It's not all terrain tactical wear. It's just dumb. Just dumb. You can even see behind the scenes footage where like James Martison or whatever his name is just cannot jump or move because the leather costumes are so impractical and ridiculous. You can also see behind the scenes footage of Holly Berry saying that, well, you just can't make them look like the comic book characters because they're not that real. Whatever, okay, Holly, you shouldn't even be in here because if I remember correctly, maybe I'm wrong, but if I remember correctly, she shouldn't be playing a superhero because she did a hit and run. Uh, but that's besides the point. She is incredibly miscast too for Storm. She doesn't bring that strong presence to the role or anything, and she does not have a strong accent. I mean, that accent's pathetic, pathetic attempt, so pathetic that she just drops it for the rest of the films that follow. Um, Hugh Jackman is probably the only good casting choice I would say. There's nothing wrong with James Marston, whatever his name is, performance as Cyclops, but uh there's just not a lot there for him. He does come off like Cyclops though, dickish. Him and Wolverine button heads over Jean Grey, and that's classic Jean Grey. Kind of come off slutty and flirtatious between two men. But I feel like this Jean Grey is more like a slutty version of Jean Grey than the heart of the X Men, which is how she came off like in the '90s cartoon, and how she comes off in a lot of the comics. Like she's the nice girl that nobody wants to see harm brought to. But here in the movie, there's a lot of problems in this movie. Like I could just go on and on and on. Uh, I do like how they accurately covered Rogue's origin with her kissing Cody, putting him into a coma. Her first kiss, putting him into a coma. That's an accurate depiction of the comic book. Uh, but I do not like how many times they jump. First, they give you Magneto's origin, which is pretty accurate. I mean, they give you Magneto's origin, then they give you like Rogue's origin, and then they give you this thing at the Senate, and then they like jump to Wolverine in a cage match. It's just too much. Need something more like cohesive, because this jumping here, jumping there. But I mean, the Senate scene in early in the movie is one of my favorite scenes because it accurately like reflects things that go down in the world of X-Men, where they discuss mutants in politics and their role in America and all that. But this movie really comes off like a dumb Saturday morning cartoon, which saying that is insulting to the Saturday morning cartoon, which came off very, very mature, and it covered the whole, you know, now, the way that the X-Men are a bunch of misfits, different personalities and all that, and they express themselves and dress differently, and the X-Men have had costumes before that are color coded, and team blue and gold and all that. But for the most part, they all have different personalities, and they dress differently and stuff. And this movie doesn't reflect all that. It doesn't really reflect the indifference or the mutant as a metaphor for you know racial indifference and all kinds of other indifferences that the X-Men cover as a metaphor between people. They don't do that in this movie very well. It's just like, oh, Magneto's just evil, and and Sabretooth is a caveman, like ridiculous. Their Sabretooth looks like he crawled down of a dumpster. Uh, he, when he does interact with Wolverine, he still does his dog tags, but they don't know anything about each other at all. Like nothing. Like I mean, you could be led to believe by taking Wolverine's dog tags that Sabretooth somehow knows him and Wolverine just forgot because he's so old and but no, that's not going to be an excuse here. They literally don't know each other, and that's the truth. This Sabretooth is just a bum. He it would have been awesome if they did like what they did on the animated show, have him in his classic costume, have him where he's this big, bulky, threatening, intimidating. Uh, in this movie, he's just silent. He doesn't give off any of the psychotic rants that he does or anything. In here, he's just a silent character that's it's like there to be there, and it sucks. Uh, Anna Paquin playing Rogue, that sucks. Rogue being all meek and helpless and never not having it and not getting any of her, super strength or any of that stuff that she stole from Miss Marvel. Even if they couldn't, you know, do the Miss Marvel licensing character, they could have figured out another way to do that. And Anna Paquin just, I mean, their Rogue sucks. There's a reason they dropped the character in the later films. The reason why they always cut her out of the movie when it comes to releasing the film. But this Rogue sucks, yeah. And the Bobby being just a student and not being on the X-Men at all, that because in the comics it's Angel, Jean, Cyclops, Professor X, and Iceman and Beast, and the only people you really have here is Cyclops and Jean Grey, and Iceman's just a student. He's not. And then you've already got Wolverine coming in and being an X-Men. You've already got Storm there. Storm and Wolverine are like the second team. And so, yeah, there's just a lot wrong with this movie, in my opinion. And it's completely coming from a fan perspective because I can't see this movie any other way. I think Mystique is stupid in here. She comes off weird and a nudist and her and Rogue don't know each other at all. They have no prior relationship, and uh, that really sucks. Um, I do like the setup of the X-Men mansion and stuff. I don't like the X's on the doors and the black leather costumes and the stupid comment Cyclops has got to make about the yellow spandex. Haha, yeah, it's a joke. We get it. It felt more like an insult that yeah, the black leather costumes really pissed me off. They're stupid. Uh, Looks like some kind of sexual fetish, but Bryan Singer is a pedophile, and uh, yeah, he also like banned comics on the set because he didn't want actors being influenced by the comics. He's like, dude, why are you even making this movie? Just go. Don't pretend to like this kind of stuff. Just go. Also, I heard in earlier versions there was more like comic book like material. Yeah. Uh, this movie though, it really sucks. I mean, it just feels stupid and empty. Uh, there's no really like deep dialogue or any really funny dialogue. That's a bare minimum of everything in this film. I mean, the fight scenes suck. CGI sucks. The setup of the school, the Xavier Institute, that's really cool. How lively they have it there and stuff. They have like characters like Kitty running through a wall. They have a pyro, which isn't in the second film. This pyro is not in there. It's a different pyro altogether. And they have Jubilee here, which is Rogue is essentially filming the role of like a Jubilee Kitty Pryde character in this movie with her relationship with Wolverine. Oh, and I really hated how meek and delicate and Rogue was, like in every aspect. It's just like I would have cast Eliza Dushku, or Dushku, however you pronounce her name, and threw her in that '90s animated costume that Rogue wears. You know, I would have had her with strong and stuff, but honestly, I wouldn't have had Wolverine, Storm, or Rogue in this movie at all. I would have had the original six X Men, and maybe the 1.5 X Men, which is kind of like Havoc, Polaris, and Banshee characters like that. Are characters like Mimic, or what was his name, Changeling, that pretty much turned both of those guys into Morph, or just I can't remember. But yeah, I would have done this movie completely differently. Completely differently. They probably couldn't get their hands on their original Brotherhood, so they couldn't use. Well, they obviously used Quicksilver in later films, so they probably should have just used them here. I don't know what the deal was with Scarlet Witch. They could have had Mastermind in here. They really shouldn't have gone with Mystique. Uh, I would have went with a whole different storyline and, and everything, and would have made this better. But what we got here is, I mean, Senator Kelly. Like at first, I really liked Senator Kelly and stuff until they turned him into this weird mutant thing that liquefies and I guess dies. That's very insulting to the legacy of that character. Uh, with the way he was depicted on the '90s animated series, he had a very, very strong presence and all that. Just a lot of things in here don't work for me. Halle Berry sucks. Uh, uh, you know, uh, the Jean Grey I'm not particularly fond of. I'm okay with Patrick Stewart playing Professor Xavier. Bet I probably would have went with somebody different. Uh, I'm not okay with what do you call him playing Magneto because he just comes off too old and frail and not intimidating really. Yeah, Ray Park playing Toad. I didn't really agree with me because Toad's got to be come off like a disgusting slob with a belly, and that didn't work for me. He just felt too clean, even though he was eating birds and shit. Um, the Sabretooth really did not work for me at all. I cannot stand this Sabretooth, man. It's ridiculous. I can't stand the Storm. I can't stand the Sabretooth. Uh, the whole movie is just structured weird for me and dumb and not very good cohesive narrative. It's just sloppy all over the place. The action's lackluster. You know, the scenes, everything's just kind of all over the place. The second and the second act feels like it's like all exposition or whatever, and the first act just feels like it's all a bunch of origin stories. And the third act's just this race to solve this weird Magneto goal. uh, this movie sucks, man. It's it's insulting. Like you could have made a better movie. you could have made a better movie if you didn't hire an asshat to be your director and dictate the script. Hugh Jackman's probably the only. Hugh Jackman, Patrick Stewart, the way Senator Kelly was set up, and with the stuff being discussed in the Senate room and Magneto's origin and Rogue's origin, those things were all very good. Their Iceman coming off as some sort of romantic didn't set well with me because Iceman's like the immature, jokey guy. Uh, and the disorder in which characters are X-Men before the others that bothered me. They obviously went with popularity here, throwing in characters like Mystique, and Wolverine, and Storm. Yeah, I would have done something completely different, and I'll probably make a video on what I actually would have done because this thing sucks. I don't. Yeah, it just damn it, man. It really sucks. Like, it doesn't feel serious at all. There were episodes of the '90s cartoon, and there's a ton of comic books where this stuff just feels it feels serious. It feels like it's got you know like a realistic element to it, and covers like real life shit that people have to deal with while also handling the fantasy elements of it. And uh, here, everybody just felt stupid and ridiculous. Hugh Jackman was pretty much who he should be, and Patrick Stewart was pretty much who he should be, and Cyclops was actually pretty much who he should be. Until later films when they throw him under the bus and forget that him and Storm are leaders of the X-Men, not Wolverine. Yeah. This movie just sucks, man. They did do some good casting for the the Jubilee that is just strangely in this movie. Uh, this movie sucks, man. The black costumes suck. I can't. What should I call you? Wills jokes like that are dumb too. I realized that was ad lib by Professor Xavier. I mean, by Hugh Jackman. But honestly, the original line wasn't that great anyway. Baldy. Uh, this movie's a dumpster fire, man. I'm gonna give it like 1 out of 10, and the only reason it gets a 1 is because they got Rogue's origin right, they got Magneto's origin right, and they Senator Kelly was good at first, and Patrick Stewart and Hugh Jackman were good, and the guy playing Cyclops was good. Everything else was just weird and stupid for me. Weird and stupid, and this sucks. Garbage. I'm gonna go watch Night of the Sentinels because that's more mature and way better, and they really should just try to make a live action movie on the 2-part Night of the Sentinels from the '90s animated cartoon. They should do that sometime and not fuck it up. Anyways, 1 out of 10. Yeah, that's how I feel. Because I'm very passionate about X-Men, and that all meant a lot to me in my childhood. X-Men, growing up watching them, very strong values from that, very cool superheroes. So I'm giving this movie a 1 out of 10. Always like, subscribe, comment, share your opinion. I'm sure a lot of you will hate mine, but freedom of speech, and if people didn't have a difference in opinion, then we'd all just be the same person. Uh, Yeah, check out my GoFundMe link. Check out my PayPal link. I'm not monetized. If you want to support my channels, those are ways to do so. Like, subscribe, comment. Stay awesome. Rock on.